It's that time of year. Load up my gun. Put on my gear.
Welcome, I'm Dr. Brooks Tiller, and today I've got a man that I really respect. That's a hard-working, just hard-working dude that I met, I guess, through the magic of the interwebs, and then we actually finally got to shake hands. Although we probably only live an hour, maybe 2 hours away, we drove about 8 or 9 hours, and we actually got to meet up at Winter Strong at the Sornex Farms in South Carolina. And there, it was great to meet him and just see him in person and just get to connect. But now we're going to talk here a little bit. We're going to talk a little farming, talk health and fitness, and of course, we're going to talk a little hunting. So, Logan, welcome to the show, man. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Man, I appreciate you having me on the show. It's an honor, man. And man, I'm just in West Tennessee, like I say, not too far from you. I'm out about 20 miles out of Memphis, is how I always describe it, because nobody's ever heard of Munford. But I'm in Munford, Tennessee, and farm. Uh, Man, I guess grandfather, dad. I'm a third or fourth generation farmer. I can't not positive about my great grandfather. I think they even farmed a little cattle. So we do a lot of row crop farming, do some cattle on the side. I have some pet goats. I don't even really consider myself a goat farmer, but just do that. And man, just trying to live the good life, man, I guess is the main thing. Make an impact while I'm here.
Man, that's what it's all about. And like you talk about, you go back that far, pretty much everybody was a farmer. I feel
Yeah.
like, at least they had a garden or they had an animal or chickens or pigs or something they were relying on. That today, most people don't have a clue, where their meat comes from, a chicken or a
Oh,
hog, and they're like, oh, it just comes from the grocery store. But
well, that's
yeah,
that's a frustration of mine is and it same with, I mean, you see it even too with like the healthy hunter side, the disconnect, like what we see as hunters is huge from the non and anti hunters to the hunters. There's a massive disconnect from a farming standpoint. Like it is nuts how misconstrued everything is and bad ideas. Nowadays, like used to, farmers were kind of, they were seen in the light of like, man, the backbone kind of thing of the country. And we've almost shifted to this weird spot where it's like farmers are almost the bad guys, like in society. Everything we do is causing cancer, and like, I mean, it's like we're all of a sudden frowned upon, and like, so I don't know. It's we're in a weird time.
yeah, it is a strange time to say the least. And here we are in 2021, and I laughed the other day and told my wife we got we've had all these storms and this craziness going on. Even everybody's like, oh, 2020's done,
Yeah.
and here we have 2021, and I told my wife, and I was like, quote unquote, I was like, you could put up a quote saying you thought my little brother was bad, love 2021. It's like, like but as outdoorsmen, as farmers, it's not as bad as it could be because we are, I guess, the original preppers. I know I
Yeah.
see a lot of people like, oh, I'm prepped, I've got this, I've got that. And I was like, man, I was like, if somebody hits a power line because of ice and snow or it goes out, I was like, I've got some wood, and I've got 4 or 5 sleeping bags. I can stick my kids in the sleeping bag,
Yeah.
and we can make it through the night if
Oh
we
yeah.
have to. We'll be fine. And it might be chilly, but it won't be as bad as camping out in the snow.
Yeah.
But like I said, in farmers, we as a farmer, my granddad was a farmer, milk cows and
Okay.
tobacco and corn, and and he did a lot of back then, back in the 70s, 80s, he was one of the guys who was doing a lot of the rotations.
Yeah.
And he even won, got an award or two. And I remember
Right.
seeing, because he got he would do, this field would be one crop, this field would be another crop, and then the next year it would be something different because he was realizing if you do the same thing over and over and over, you're just the
Oh
soil
yeah.
is going to erode. And of course, we're learning as we go. We learned a lot, and I know you as a farmer, boots on the ground, muddy boots day in, day out,
Yeah.
you're seeing that. And even as outdoorsmen, I think we're going to get a food plot. We got a food plot, and we're going to go in there and I've had people, I'm going to plant corn as my food plot. And I'm like, well, but then if somebody comes and harvests the corn, like your food plot's gone, and there's
Yeah.
things that we don't realize. But I've seen you talk a little bit about maybe a better way, instead of just, tilling and planting and doing a little bit of no-till farming, which I would like to learn a little bit more about. And I know that you be more of an expert about it. So I'll let you kind of share a little bit of, the no-till farming and what you've done
Yeah.
on your farm and how it's improved the health of the land, which in turn improves the health of the animals, as well as, and then we are healthy because of the just the whole cycle of life.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's no-till is. I don't know if have you seen the documentary called "Kiss the Ground" on Netflix?
Yes.
All right, I watched it. I had some people, like, actually it was some of my landlords that I rent the ground from, because I own some of my land and then I rent some of the other on the row crop. And I had a landlord that was like, "Have you watched Kiss the Ground?" And she lives off far. A lot of my landlords, it's funny, man. A lot of the landlords, some of them have probably never even hardly stepped foot on the ground that they rent. Like, it's land that's been passed down, and they just get a rent check, and it is what it is. But they asked me if I'd watched this, and I tried to watch it. I started it, and I got like halfway in, and it's hard for me to watch something where like celebrities are kind of preaching to me, especially about something like farming. And so I quit watching it, but then I had a couple more people that reached out and they were like, "Man, have you watched Kiss the Ground?" So I finally was like, I guess I need to watch this darn show. So I watched it, and it's kind of all about no-till. They want to minimize tillage, um, but they really kind of villainized farmers in that movie. And it so we practice a minimal to no tillage type of I guess soil works on our farm. Like that's kind of what we do. No till is just, it is what it is. It's no tillage. Like, you don't go in, you don't disturb the soil. You plant straight into it, harvest it, come back in, spray. And see, the thing about it, people also, a lot of times pro the big diehard no tillage like supporters, they also are anti like herbicide and pesticides, and so they don't want any chemical. But when you do no till, you spray. I mean, the whole point back in the day, guys would do tillage to kill the weeds, and then they'd go in and plant it. And so they could skip some of the chemical, but they're also losing all of that topsoil. So, I mean, you can tell the guys, because we picked up some farms from guys that farmed still like they used to. And man, the yields would be just garbage for like the first few years, because all the topsoil would be gone. Like, they come in, disc it up, run a do-all, plant it, and it plants great. Like, when you till the ground up, it's smooth planting, plants perfect. You can get a beautiful stand, but then you get a huge rain and it will wash all that away. And so over the years, you see that, and the ground erodes. And so, man, I don't know. No till kind of came out of that. Guys started to realize, if we don't, we've got planters now that can plant straight into the stuff. And we come in, kill the grass or weeds, plant into it, and we save all that topsoil, so you have a lot of foreign matter in the ground. And man, it boosts yields. And now cover crops come into the picture. People are it's a science and kind of an experiment in itself, because we're dabbling in cover crops and trying to eliminate some of the chemical side of things, like coming in and rolling it down and then planting into it, and it actually will kill it. And that's probably kind of a somewhat long answer, but no till just means none. Minimal tillage is what we do, because we've had wet harvests here in the Tennessee the last few years. You will tear a field up like a combine going through there, make huge ruts and tracks. You got to go in there and we'll hit it with a turbo till, which is running like 2 inches deep, just barely going into the ground, just to smooth it out so we can plant it. And that's how we do it. Most guys that are what I would consider good farmers are practicing a no-till or minimal tillage type soil run.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those things, like you said, it's hard to say, like, oh, in any aspect of life that I am strictly this, whether you're
Yeah,
talking about a diet or a workout plan, you're like, oh man, all I do is powerlifting, or all
yeah,
I do is paleo. But then, like you go to a party and then you eat a piece of cake and, so, but the same thing with the tilling. I mean, like you can do it, but then all of a sudden, if while you're combining and a combine gets stuck and you've got a 4-foot rut, like either fix the rut or it's going to be, your field's messed up forever.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, and so you're just one of those like where, and then also you have that, like you said, you have that play of using chemicals and then the overuse of chemicals where you
yeah,
have, and I think a lot of times that comes into the maybe the big industrial farms,
yeah,
where it's just like, like we're just going for as much money as we can,
yeah,
and we're not worried about the land, or we're not worried about the end result. Where you've been handed, you're on land that your folks had before you were born,
yeah,
and I know that you want to pass that on to those coming after you, and so your thought process is much more about the whole concept. Yeah, it'd be great if you could be a multimillionaire farmer. Like,
yeah,
I mean, who wouldn't, but at the same time, like, are you going to take $1 million, farm, for that 10 years down the road, it's nothing but it won't even grow grass, or
yeah,
weed or anything. So
yeah. Well, and you see, that's one of the things. Like I was telling you before we started, I run a LH Farms YouTube channel, and just to kind of showcase. There's not a lot of like southern farming YouTube channels out here. Like there's a lot of the kind of corn belt and like up north area doing it, or Midwest doing it. And so I wanted to show that. And some of the comments and stuff that I get, that's what shows me. I'm like, good Lord, man. Like people, they have this vision like farming needs to be 100% organic, but we want no tillage, and we want no chemical. Like it's like the perfect green world. And and then they blast farmers. Now cattle farmers probably take it harder than anybody, because they are the ones that you see these industrial, like you said, like the huge commercial cattle farmers, where their cows pretty much live and die in a feedlot. Like
yeah,
they don't ever, like we have 120 head of cattle probably out here. And at one time we had over 300 head of cattle. They live in a pasture. They spend their life in a pasture. We got a barn. We feed them hay. I mean, they are like free range cattle out here. And when the time comes for them to go, that's when we carry them to the sale barn, and they go, and because it's commercial beef, so they become a hamburger. But they literally spend their entire life in a pasture grazing. That is the majority of small cattle farmers in America. Like most cattle farmers do not have a feedlot that they just raise the cows on, and they never see sunlight. I mean that. So the commercial stuff, that's what gives it a bad name. And same with row crop. Those are the guys. For me, as a young farmer and a smaller farmer, picking up ground is the biggest challenge for me. Like acquiring more land, because you have the huge farmers that pay astronomical rent, and yeah, man, they're not worried about maximizing the soil quality on every piece of ground, because they don't have time, because they're working 20 or 30,000 acres. So they're the ones that give the normal farmer a bad name.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I would say, kind of like uh, outdoorsmen, hunters. Uh, if you just turn on the TV or any kind of program, you're going to see somebody. Oh, he's only 160. We're going to let him grow another year.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what. In my it for me, I'm like, that's a big 8.
Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
he's mature. He's mature, or like he looks big, or she, I'll shoot a big old nanny before anything else. I'm like,
Yeah.
she looks mature. She's grown. She'll eat, and I think that a lot of people see that the trophy thing, like you said, the same thing with the feedlot where they can barely move, and that's where you get to hear like, oh man, they're shoved full of hormones and
Yep.
antibiotics and all that, and like I don't want to be shoved full of hormones and antibiotics, but if all of a sudden I have some kind of crazy disease that's going to kill me, I'll go to the hospital.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
see a doctor. I don't like, I am one and I don't like them, but I don't want, and I don't want a needle shoved in me. But if it's like, hey, you're going, this could kill you. We got to give you
Yeah.
this shot. Well, okay, I might go get a shot then.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing I know with the beef. Like you're not pumping them full of a bunch of stuff, but if one of them is sick, you may need to, because otherwise they're going to die. So
And that's frustrates the crap out of us. Like my cousin is really into cattle farming. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's exactly me and him have had this conversation because we deworm our cattle, um, and we'll give them. They only get, like, say, antibiotics when it's necessary, and that's what the people that are like anti-antibiotics in their cattle. I'm like, so would you rather it die? Like, would you rather it just go out here and like get this disease or this bad infection and die, like a bad slow death, or would you rather it get this antibiotic, live its life, and then when the end of the line comes for it, it's a rapid instant death? And when you eat it, you're not eating those hormones. Like, there's a window. The I don't know it that well, but I know that, like, the quality standard, like beef quality standard and all that, there is a window that allows that hormone to like be out of the cattle by the time it goes to be processed. So like people are not eating the hormone from this beef when they eat it. That's another scare tactic. That's just like the non-GMO thing. I'll be honest, that annoys me to no end. Like, they're the non-GMO and GMO is it's just a money making route. Like, the majority of all the grain in America is genetically modified GMO. The non-GMO is the niche market, just like organic. And organic, they spray it with chemical just like we do GMO. It's just an organically certified chemical. So you're like, all it is somebody was like, hey man, I can say that this is more natural and I can charge a premium for it. And somebody in San Diego will pay that premium for it. And so,
right.
like, that's what had happened, man. It's all of it ultimately comes down to money. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and but I mean, it doesn't get much more natural and organic than getting it yourself, like,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
but like you said, like I've found that, I mean, guy lives across the street from me, he's got cattle, and they'll roam from one end of the field to the other. There's plenty of room for them
Yeah.
to roam. And I've seen the feedlots that you're talking about. I mean, it's like they don't have room to move. And
Yep.
there's a big difference in that. And like if I'm gonna go to the grocery store and I know that I'm gonna feed meat from the store to my kids, especially, like I may go towards more like something that's more quote unquote natural,
Yeah.
organic, or whatever, because then I'm like, all right, I feel a little bit better about feeding them
Yeah.
that, because of it's like the other stuff. I'm not sure which feedlot it came from, but
Yeah.
even more than that, I would rather be like, hey, Logan, are you going to be butchering any cattle? And finding a local guy,
Yeah.
a local farmer, for one, if I'm not going to be eating venison or, deer, elk, turkey, or fish, um, something wild that I've found out in the wilderness, I would love to be able to be like, hey, this guy across the street's got cows. I see him
Yep.
every day. I know that he's not mistreating them, and I know they've lived a good life. Let me buy half of his cows. And
Yep.
for me, that's really where I'm at. Like, it's if I don't know where it comes from, I'm like, yeah, like I don't know what's in this, But then
Yeah.
again, like if I know I can find it from, this guy's gonna be butchering a cow, and I know that it's been living a good life, like, okay, let's eat that.
Yeah. That's a big thing you see now. The support your local farmer kind of push that you see. And I mean, that's been one thing that we've really seen, especially since COVID hit. Like, man, it's hard to even get a cow butchered right now because they are slam full with people. One, it drove even for hunting. The ticket, like license sales, flew out of the roof, like because people went to the grocery store and there was nothing there. Like the beef was all gone. And so, it made one people, they were like, okay, I need to start hunting because I got to get some meat on the table. And then the other crowd was like, I don't want to hunt, but I need some beef. So then they were like, well, let me find my local farmer and try to get this. So it pushed people to that. And, man, supporting your local farmer, like you said, it's cool to me when you can see like the operation, like, you could see that guy out there, the cows are doing well out there in the pasture. I mean, like these cows out here, they live as well of a life as a cow will ever live. And I mean, they're taken care of. Like I said, they're not walking around with infections or diseases because we take care of them. And you want to support that. And then like as far as on the grain or kind of vegetable side of things, like a lot of times I'll grow a sweet corn patch and I sell sweet corn, and people freaking go nuts over that. But it's a job, man. It's a pain. I'm usually crunched on time, but like it's been cool to see people. We're seeing people go back to that. They're wanting to get back to their farmers. We kind of went through a period where everybody wanted like mass production everything, and I feel like we're kind of seeing that resurrection almost in like the American spirit, is what I would almost call it. Like people are supporting American made, American farmers. Like I said, you do have the goobers that are like villainizing farmers, but on the same side, you're seeing that crowd kind of going back to supporting their local farmers. And man, yeah, like I said, it doesn't get much more natural than your local farmers or just going and freaking getting it yourself, hunting. I mean, deer, shoot, man. And I mean, and they're living a wild life. Like that's what, from a humane standpoint. And I killed that cryptorchid buck. I guess it's 2 years ago. Well, I killed it right at the end of 2020, or it was right at the beginning of 2020, January 2nd, I think. Um, I had people mad. That buck was 7.5 years old. I had been hunting him for 3 years, and people were mad that I killed him because they were like, he should have, that buck should have got to live his life out. And it's like, man, have you ever seen what a coyote will do to a deer? Like, I mean, there's so many things. People think like they've seen Bambi too much, and they think the only threat to a deer is a hunter. We are the quickest, most humane death to a deer that there could possibly face.
Yeah. And uh, and like you said, people, it's almost like everybody's Disneyed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, like with the farming and stuff, I mean, right now we got a high like 20 degrees today, ice everywhere. And like I had the kids earlier, I look outside and farmer Mr. Joe across the road, he's coming in his tractor and I can tell he's got a hot coffee thermos or something in his hand. He's drinking, and he's all
Yep.
bundled up. And I'm like, hey, I bring the kids on the front porch, shorts or whatever, pajamas. And we're like, just to wave at Mr. Joe and, get a big smile out of him. Like, Mr. Joe, because he's out there busting it. And, and I mean, supporting a guy like that means more to me than it does like just going to the store and handing over,
Yeah.
Here's my $10, give me a hamburger, whatever.
Yep.
It's like, and seeing that is good. And like you said, the, even the way that we villainized. It was like, oh man, the cow is farting. You know,
Yeah.
that's why it's cold today, because of cow farted. I was like,
Yeah.
so
The methane. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you know, but and I think you know, and one of the things that we've seen, you know, like you said, through COVID, was some of these cities that were pretty much shut down within a few weeks. Like the water was cleaner and the air was cleaner than it
Yeah.
had been in years, and it, you know, it's like, well, like cows have they're still doing their thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's just everybody's not running around trying to, you know, outprove the Joneses, really.
Yeah.
And now the world's healthier and better. So I mean, I think you know, the whole moral of the story is just find a farmer and go check out the farm, go spend time on the farm. I know, you know, with the ones here, there's times that my neighbor, he's like, hey man, I got this cow out, and you know, we'll get the kids out and let them see how you round up a cow, you know, to get them
Yeah.
back in. And it's just fun. Like, I mean, how many kids are like, oh yeah, like you just, you know, the cows just kind of go where you tell them to, you got to wave your arms. But, you know, but, you know, stuff like that, or, you know, like, you know, we got out a while ago and they wanted to go see if the creek was frozen. It's like, you know, just
Yeah.
getting out and doing things that I think that's important to even share and pass on to the next generation.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, it's just that's probably the, I don't know, my farming is, you know, it's a very heritage like driven thing. I mean, you see a ton of us that are multi-generation farmers, and I don't know, that the biggest threat to me that I see to that is would be the big commercial farmers. They're they're killing the young farmers and small farmers because, like, for instance, on a normal farm in my area, I'll kind of just give a little rundown. Like, a smaller farmer could pay, I don't know, let's say $120 an acre rent. That's like, and that's kind of getting up there. That'd be like fairly decent ground. There's some big guys around, and I can tell you in my area, there's some big farmers around here that would pay $200 an acre or more for that same piece of ground, because one, they're working 10,000 acres or more, so they can actually kind of offset that price difference because they're also renting some for really cheap, or they own a bunch of ground that they've already payrolled in, and so they can kind of swing that huge rent. Well, one thing that you're seeing, our prices tanked a couple of years ago when all the trade wars started. Our prices absolutely tanked, and I can tell you, man, people think farmers are crazy, but we all supported the trade war, like, because China had pretty much been dominating us. And I don't even, this isn't like getting on a political kick. This is just true. I mean, China had us in a vice, and so we supported it, but our prices tanked. Like, beans got down to like $8 a bushel, and that's terrible. And right now they're around $12 and something. They've been come up a ton, but these guys that were paying that crazy rent started trying to renegotiate their rents. Well, these landlords are now used to getting this crazy high rent, so they start shopping it around and they just find another big farmer that'll take that chance and he'll rent it. And so the problem is getting the landlords to come back to reality after you've had these commercial guys paying mega bucks. And I mean, man, they'll go behind up like backstabbing. I mean, I've had people try to rent ground out from underneath me. Luckily, I'm close with almost all of my landlords, but dude, it's crazy. I mean, that's the commercial farming. That's the probably possibly the number one enemy to farming, and close second or tie, which also would be probably the biggest enemy for hunters, is people buying land to turn into commercial property. Like, we're losing a 300-acre block over the span of the next few years to subdivisions. It got bought and it's going to be turned entirely into a subdivision. So
Yeah.
that's big. That's trouble, man. We're going to see that become a problem, I think, in the next few years. The massive loss of farmland and forestry to subdivisions and commercial properties.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you hear about it almost every year, some new subdivision that is expanded, and they complain about because there's too many deer and there's too many coyotes and too many
Yeah,
raccoons, like bothering their subdivision. It's like,
yeah,
well, actually, you put your house in the middle of their house.
yep,
Like this was their land, and you put your house there. Like it's not their fault. They've always been there. You're the one that's new, and
yeah,
but we don't see it that way. It's like, oh, well, this is we've got this subdivision, so the animal should just go over there,
yeah,
like wherever over there is. But I
yeah,
mean, the same thing. It's like the like you said, the farming is and commercializing almost seems. I guess 2020 once again kind of showed us a lot of the commercializing where the small businesses were shut down, but the big ones were still allowed to run rampant.
yeah, man, yeah,
And, and all that, it was kind of crazy, but like you said, it's just getting it back down to the home team, if you will, and supporting those around us and, you know, getting people out to the farm to show them what this is where your food comes from and teaching them that you can get in the woods and this is where your food comes from. And I think those are some critical things that we need to be getting people out. We need to be doing as it
yeah,
comes into, we're kind of teaching this new generation where our food comes from.
yeah. I agree, man. And that's I don't know if you saw, but do you know who the largest landowner, like farm landowner, is in America?
Is it China?
No, it's well, they're making their run.
I know.
But I know one of them. I'm pretty sure he's the largest. Is Bill Gates. Um, I saw a thing the other day. He's bought like farmland in all these states. I don't know if he's got any in Tennessee yet, but he's got some land in like Louisiana, Arkansas. I'm pretty sure Mississippi, and he's buying it. And that's another sign. I mean, these guys are seeing the ultimate push is to commercialize all of farming, like because it is a money making machine when you get it so huge. Now, I mean, the overhead is massive. Like these guys, I don't know, man. A dude working 20,000 acres, he's probably got a inputs bill of $5 million to $10 million. I mean, he's spending millions of dollars, but they're turning in a ton of dollars as well. But I don't know, man. It's weird, and just like you talked about with the hunting shows, like that kind of give a bad perception. One of the things that always kills me at the end of a hunting show, I hate when you watch one and it gets to the very end and it gives a thanks to like so and so guide service or something, and I'm like, come on, man. Like my favorite ones, I like the Drurys a lot because they do set up a lot of their own places. Um, I like to see a guy that, and I mean, I get it, man. You know, you want to get big antlers on the screen and stuff. That's what people like to watch, I guess. But I like seeing real, like a guy. I'd rather see a dude kill 130, 140-inch buck that he's got like his farm. He's put the work in on this place, man. You know, maybe hinge cut some trees, set up like bedding areas, and done all this stuff, established it, worked hard on this place rather than just going to an outfitter or a guide and then shooting a 180-inch buck on TV. I don't know, man. I've got a lot of bones to pick with that, but I just like I guess the working man style of things better.
Oh, I completely agree. When I had my show back, 5, 6 years ago, that was one of the things I said, first off, I was like, I'm not going to I'm not going to pay to kill a big deer. Like, I don't care that much about how big the deer is.
Yeah.
And we had an invite from a guy in Wisconsin who had a deer farm. And I was like, and he's like, well, hey, I need some does killed. And I was like, I'll come kill all the does. I don't care.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was funny. And we were going to film it, but I had to wait for I couldn't kill a doe with a tag in her ear because she'd been bred, and it was like all these restrictions. And so there's one doe, but I had to wait till all the big bucks were out of frame of the camera, because then people are like, why didn't you shoot the big buck? And I was like, so we had all these restrictions. But I mean, for us, I was like, we went hog hunting. We went, I went elk hunting and just walked around the woods for a week and just told the story of me walking in the woods for a week and never seeing a single elk because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Hog hunting and bow fishing and some things like that turkey hunting that we were able to do. But I mean, I never killed a big deer on camera. Like, I never did. But I killed some does. Like, I'm eating them, and shared the recipe or whatever. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, it's not about the. Yeah, that's one thing about that. It kills me. It's like after the NASCAR race, thank you for all, they just list all the people that helped them do that. And for you and I, the normal everyday outdoorsman, like we don't have a bunch of stuff, showing up at our door to try out that is the latest, greatest, best things. And I've been blessed to meet people in the outdoor industry, and sometimes like, hey, do you want to try this out and give us a review or whatever? And I'm like, that's fine, but it's going to be an honest, like, I'm going to tell you, like, I don't like this, like I don't like, this is, and like, so like at Winter Strong, we were at Winter Strong together, and we're looking through some of those, the loophole scope. I have a loophole scope. I love it, but they brought their latest, greatest fancy ones.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, like, there were so many doggone tick marks. I've never shot something that I needed to shoot like 2 miles away.
Yeah.
And so I'm holding on, and I was like, I think I'm on the right crosshairs. I don't know. There's just so many tick marks. And they're like, where are you at? I was like, on this one. Like, no, you got to move it, and I was, I'm on the wrong tick mark because I wasn't, I'm not a distance shooter. And, so like they could send me that and I wouldn't be able to hit a deer. It'd take me forever to learn how to do it. But I'm with you. Like, I think that we've got to get back to, and especially teaching new people.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of folks living in Nashville, and you probably had folks that were living in Memphis. Like, I ain't got a clue where to find meat. And so, it's like, hey, I've got deer. I've got some deer I'll give you. I'm not giving you my elk, but I got some brim, I got some catfish, I've got some deer that you can have. And I would give it to them, like, man, this is really good. Will you take me hunting? Yes, I will. And so that's that opportunity to open up, like, let's take other people out. And if you have a farmer, you go see where the chickens and the eggs come from, and teaching. And that's one of our things next is if we were able to move to we have a little more land, having chickens and like you said, goats, where the kids are like, let's go get the eggs, and then we'll make breakfast this morning. So I think that's really important, that we not only that we know where it comes from, but we teach others. So I think that we even before we talked about, like, there's things that we know, things that we do that's just common knowledge. It's just like, that's just what we do. But if we don't share that with other people, they're not going to know about it either.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things. It was actually this morning or last night. I made a video review on the Netflix documentary on my farm YouTube channel. And that's where I've gotten the, like, comments that make me just shake my head. I mean, I'm like, good Lord. And
have you been canceled yet, though? That's the question.
Not yet. I don't know, unless they're shadow banning me and I don't realize it. But I'm okay right now. Let me make a video about guns or something. That'll probably finish me off. But but no, on this one, man, I think it was last night. I saw a comment pop up, and the guy wrote, "This guy is not a real farmer," and on the comments. And so I wrote back and I said, "Who?" And they said, "The gentleman in this video is not a real farmer. He's just a businessman trying to make money." And it tripped me out because, all right, and so I wrote back to him, and I pretty much laid it out. I was like, people like you are literally the reason why I make these videos, because this is how messed up people have gotten. Okay, land and farming, it is a stewardship. Like, you got to take care of the land. The more you take care of the land, the better the land takes care of you. That sounds cliche, but like, you treat the soil, like, take care of it, give it the necessary nutrients, the yields will go better. as long as the good Lord gives you the necessary rains and stuff you need, the weather has to cooperate. But at the end of the day, man, you got to pay the bills. Like, you can't farm if you don't pay the bills. And I mean, like, getting to go to Winter Strong, I got to go because I made my farm did well enough that I had money to travel to South Carolina there. Like, so I'm a farmer, yes. And does that mean I'm a businessman? Yes. Like, if you're not a businessman, you won't make it. Like, unless I could go be a farm hand for somebody, I guess, and not be a businessman. But you have to be just like, I mean, even with you saying doing PT, I mean, that may not be like ideally where you want to be right now, but it's putting food on the table. You got to do what you got to do. I mean, like, nobody's going to be like, well, this guy ain't a real PT. He's making money doing it. And it's like, okay, like, that's also the job. I mean, so it's the same way. That's how with farming, it trips me out. People think, because I'll have a lot of people write out and be like, you need to quit all the chemical, dive straight into the cover crop kind of thing. And I'm implementing that slowly because I'm not going to risk every bit of my livelihood on this 1 year, because if it goes wrong, then I'm going to go broke and I'm going to lose my land and I'm not going to have money to even survive. So it's, man, I don't know.
And then you'll have to go get a real job.
Yes, and then yes, and I have been farming now. I came back to farming full time in 2015. Like, I grew up on it. I left, became a machinist, did that for a few years, hated it, came back to farming. And I can honestly say, I even told somebody this the other day, I could not imagine having to go back to like a job where I work for somebody and where I have like a set schedule, because we run super hard in the spring and in the like fall. During planting season, we're working super hard, long hours. Harvest, we work super long, hard hours. And I mean, we're spraying in between. So, I mean, we're busy spring to the fall. Wintertime, man, I'm mainly cruising easy street in wintertime. That's when I deer hunt a ton. Until tax season hits, I'm like happy. When tax season hits, that's when I'm sad again. But so yeah, I couldn't imagine having like a set scheduled job anymore.
Yeah. And I think, like, my answer to the one guy that talks about you being a businessman would have been to quote the great Jay-Z, who said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man.
Business man, yeah,
Yeah, business, comma. Like, I am the
yeah,
business. Like, as a farmer, you are the business. I mean, the other day you had a video up where you had a cow that was sick
yeah,
and wouldn't get up, and you had to go with your bucket on a tractor, I mean, in mud and snow and nasty weather, when everybody else is like, oh, I can't go to work. Like,
yeah,
they're sitting,
yeah,
you're out there checking on your cattle. Like, yeah, but you're not you're just a businessman. You're just, you're just trying to make money on YouTube
yeah,
because
yeah.
that
I'm not a
pays
real
so
farmer,
well.
just a businessman.
Yeah. YouTube pays so
Yep.
well. So,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, and like you say, and the whole cancel culture on the YouTube, that I made a few videos about some gun related stuff, some outdoor related stuff. And I had some videos, but I was like, do I really want to put these up? Do I want to like have flags thrown at me?
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. And I mentioned to one of my friends in the outdoor industry, and his response is like, I won't quote exactly what his response was, but he just pretty much said, there are bad people doing bad things and they're putting it on the internet.
Yeah.
And he said, we need as many good people putting up good things on the internet as possible.
Yep.
And, he said, if they happen to cancel you or demonetize or whatever, like, like, who cares? At
Yeah.
least it's good. Somebody good's going to have to see the good, opposed to all the bad that's out there. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's a great point. And that's what you're doing on your channel is, I mean, you're sharing just some of the ins and outs of farming and the good stuff that's going on in your life, which I think is very commendable.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And that's the one thing. I mean, there's so much negative crap on the internet. And I mean, that was kind of the driving force, I guess, with like my podcast that I'm running, Living Fully Loaded. I try to just have people on there that are doing cool things, awesome things, and share their story. And Bert, I had him back on. We just recorded yesterday, and we talked about a bunch of stuff. But one of the parts in there fits with this well, and we coined a hashtag in there, and it's I pity the troll. Um, targeting our Mr. T there,
Yeah.
uh, because there's so many like the negative people on the internet and haters. I mean, you've probably had to deal with haters. Um, I had to deal with haters. Anytime you do anything and put yourself out there, you're going to deal with haters. But dude, there's like the old thing, I don't. If you, what do they say? If you stop and throw rocks at every dog that barks, you're pretty much never going to get anywhere. And that's all these people are, man. The people that are like the negative guys all the time, like they're just miserable human beings. I mean, and I'm not saying that being a jerk. I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
you can see it. Like, I'm not going and blasting people and hating people on the internet. You're not going and doing that. You got things you're doing in your life that drive you, make you happy. You have goals you're trying to work towards. I'm the same way. Driven, goal oriented people, they don't have time to go and bash other people, and they don't care to. I mean, like Bert, both of us, I know you respect him a lot. I respect him a lot. Like, he had Winter Strong to get all these people together. Bert is in a position where, man, he could, like, Sornex is doing great things. They're an awesome company, thriving. He could easily go into his awesome man cave and just hang out and not care if he ever helps anybody else build connections. Like, I mean, he could do that easily. But Bert, he's a successful person, and he also realizes the value in giving back to other people. And, Winter Strong to me is a prime example because he literally invites guys across all the spectrums, man. And I mean, crazy people like freaking the Medal of Honor recipient Kyle
Yeah.
Carpenter. Got
Yeah.
to meet him. I mean, like, and then, from him to Laura Zura, I mean, NFL players, like, it was just crazy, the crowd. And I mean, essentially the key is to network and connect with these people. And so that dude hosts this to get this group together, and he hopes to see people grow things from that or connect further with these people. And so that tells me it's like, and you see that a ton of successful people, one of the best things or their favorite thing to do is to see people grow from that. And so that's what kind of pushes me, or I strive towards, is getting to a place where, obviously I want to be successful, but like getting to see other people actually do something with their lives and push themselves, man, it's cool to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we were there, and you and I were talking. We probably hadn't been there just a few hours. And we're looking around, and we're like, all right, that dude's been in movies. Like that dude, like that guy has done this. That girl's been on this show. That guy's been on, he was on a season 7 of Alone, and and like we were finding out who, like, some people, like, I didn't necessarily know who they were, but
Yeah,
we were, you would learn more about them and talk to them, and like, oh, that guy works with, like this music guy, or that,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and you're like, oh, that guy runs this company and that company, and you're learning about, how these guys special forces, like you said, football players, and when we're like, you're like, and I think you even talked about it on one of your, one of your podcasts, like, I'm a nobody, like, why am I here?
yeah,
But we were there for a purpose, and I think it was one of those things, like, I personally, and I think Bert and I talked about this one time, is like, we collect people,
yeah,
and not in a bad way, if you will, but like, I like interesting people.
yeah,
I like people, and
yeah,
it's one of the, things, like, it was pretty cool that Robbie Kroger from Blood Origins was there,
yep,
and it was one of those things where, being able to connect people like Robbie and Bert, and then they tell the story, and then, like, that whole thing, that whenever, other people were able to see that show, I mean, like Robbie and Jesse, the guy that does a lot of stuff, work with
Yeah.
Robbie, they together is like, I mean, it's like,
Oh,
you know,
they're deep.
it'll they pull out the guts of whatever they're
Yeah.
getting, you know, and everybody's sitting there like, I'm not crying, you know,
Yeah.
after watching like an 8-minute video
Yeah.
of this guy just talk about what it means to be in the outdoors. And that was just, you know, like what it means to be alive, to be,
Yep.
you know, his purpose. And I think that was one of those resetting moments for everybody there. It was like, all right, like, you know, it was for me. I was like, man,
Yeah.
we all have a purpose. And although I may not be in a movie like Rudy over here, and I didn't win a Medal of Honor, and I don't own a exercise company, and I'm
Yeah.
not, you know, and I'm not a sniper, and I'm not, you know, I'm not a football player, but like, oh, I'm here for a reason.
Yep.
And, you know, and we were able to connect with people. And I think that's one thing that we just maybe over the past year have kind of lost, and hopefully encourage people, like just connect with people, whether it be
Yeah.
through the, you know, the magic of the interweb, and be nice, you know, not like, I
Yeah.
hate this guy because he made $1 million. Like, I don't think him making money hurt you making money.
No.
It's
Yeah.
you sitting on the couch watching TV instead of getting up and, you know, as old Teddy Roosevelt said, get action, you know,
Yep.
getting after it, doing things. So, but anyway, that's a little side note, but I like side notes and I like people.
Oh man. Well, and that's one thing I tell you that Bert did say that I liked a lot on Winter Strong, and he said when they were kind of coming up with the idea, they had thought about doing name tags and like having a name tag, and I think maybe even saying like who you're associated with, like your business or whatever. And he said that was kind of one of their early on ideas. And then they got to thinking, they're like, no, we're not going to do any name tags, because they wanted to require you, they want people to go and then have to go interact. Like, because, you know, if we had name tags, you know, the guys that everybody'd see, like, oh, so and so, man, he's with who, like, and see that, and that they would go to this guy, and like, then the dude over here that might be super interesting, but he's with like a company you've never heard of, nobody would care to go talk to that guy.
Yeah.
And so by doing it the way they do, you know, you go and talk to them, and might not be a company you've ever heard of, but you get to talking to the guy, and you're like, man, this dude is, like you said, super interesting. I would love to share his story and or get to know him more, build relationship. And so that's kind of, that was cool to me that they did it that way. And like you said, man, I like people. Like, you see all the stuff people on like Facebook, they put stuff up like, I hate people, or I love my dogs more than people and stuff. And it's like, man, I actually like people. Like, I don't know. I mean, people, look, there's some that I don't care about. I'm not going to act like I like all people, but I like most people. Like, most people that I meet, I can generally get along with pretty well. Like, everybody, I think, has a unique story, and a unique voice. Like, and that's, again, is something that I try to kind of encourage with my podcast. Is like, you know, everybody has a message. Like, I feel like there is only one Brooks Tiller. There is only one Logan Hanks. Like, we all have our own unique thought pattern and things. And so it's cool to get to kind of, to see how other people's brains kind of operate, to me.
Yeah. I completely agree. I'm totally with you. But man, Logan, I don't want to keep you. I know that you've got a couple of little ones that I don't want to keep you from them, and I'm sure that farm work, I mean, because it's really easy, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
I mean, you just do it like an hour or two a day, and that's all.
yeah.
So I don't want to keep you from that, you know, and you know, being a businessman that you are, just
That's
making
true. Yeah,
videos out there.
like the next
But
Trump.
yeah, yeah, you know. But hey, I do want to know if you had one dream hunt. So this is, you get to go anywhere and you get to chase anything. You get to go with anybody you want. Uh, what are you going after? Where are you going? And probably most importantly, who's going with you?
Man, that's a tough one. I can tell you the hunt. Um, it'd be an elk hunt. That's something I've been trying to plan. So it would be an elk hunt. Wyoming, Idaho, Montana. I'm not real picky on either one of them three. Crap, man. Who would I go with? You know, the easy choice that you think of first would be like Teddy Roosevelt. Because I'm assuming do they have to be living?
No, it could be anybody you want. There's no rules here.
Well, see, Teddy's like he would be one that I'd want to go with, but man, that's tough. That is a tough question, like to really think about. But elk, one of them three. Teddy's my cop out answer, but I guess my dream eventually is to take my son. I don't know if that's cheating, but like I do. You know, he's 3, just turned 3. Actually, yesterday they turned 3 on the 16th. Did you say yesterday was your birthday?
It was, yeah.
Well, happy birthday! Yeah, you share a birthday with my kids.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Happy birthday!
Thank you. Yeah, and yours too.
Yeah, I'll pass it on to him. But man, I guess probably my son when he gets older. Like, you know, I don't know if he'll be into hunting yet. He's gone with me deer hunting like just that one time, and we killed a deer, and he was super pumped. And as a dad, man, I don't know. I hope my boy gets into it, and I would love to go into true wilderness, do some hard elk hunting, and have my son at my side. I guess that'd be the choice I would say.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think it gets much better than that. I don't think so.
But, well, man, yeah, and man, I appreciate you again having me on. It's been a blast talking to you.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Just let everybody know where they can find you. I know you got your YouTube, you got your podcast, and all the interweb, social media, frenzy, wherever people might be able to find you.
Well, my handle on Instagram is just lo.hanks, lo.hanks, all one, and then let's see. On Facebook, I'm just Logan Hanks. I've got an LH Farms Facebook page and a Living Fully Loaded Facebook page. The YouTube channel, also LH Farms or Living Fully Loaded. And the podcast, it's on everything like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that. And the website, we just recently got it launched, not like I guess probably a week or two ago. And that's just livingfullyloaded.com. And check them all out there. And I mean, like I said, I like talking to people. Anybody who wants to shoot me a message, tell me I'm a terrible guest or you enjoyed listening to me, shoot me a message. So, man, yeah, and I hope, like I said, I've really enjoyed talking to you, man. It's been fun.
Man, it's great. And I know that hopefully, I mean, we're so close, we can get together and hunt, hang out a little bit, and it'd be great. We can just take off. And I've been blessed to be able to elk hunt this a couple years ago in Idaho, and man, it was one of those things I'll never forget. And so maybe I can kind of give you some tips of where we went, and maybe I can tag along too. It'd be nice.
I need all the help and tips I can get on it. So yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah. I went with a couple of experienced guys, and I said, hey, do I need to learn how to call an elk? And their response was, if we see you touch an elk call, we're going to slap it out of your mouth. So but since then I've been practicing.
There you go.
Yeah. Man, Logan, thanks so much for coming on. And as always, everybody, stay humble, be hungry, and get healthy.
Someone's gonna lose, but I can guarantee it ain't gonna be me.